Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the CD guy, Johnny Z here. Thank you so much for tuning back into the channel, and today I'm going to be counting down the top 15 solo artists in classic rock history. This video is actually a sequel video to one I did last week here on the channel, counting down the top 10 best heavy metal solo artists of all time, which I'll leave the link to that video in the description below. That's the video that featured the likes of Ozzy Osbourne and Ronnie James Dio, King Diamond, etc. So that video is where you would find names from the heavy metal genre, but I said that if I got around to doing a sequel, I would definitely do one regarding the best classic rock solo artists of all time. So that's what I'm counting down here today, and there are 15 names on the list, and as always, my picks are just my own personal opinions, and they are inspired by my own music preferences, so everyone's list will be different here. Everybody's going to have a varying of opinions, but that's what's so fun about this. So that being said, let's get started here with my number 15 pick. Kicking us off here with number 15 on the list, I'm going to go with Ace Frehley, formerly of Kiss, and, Ace is probably best known for being the former Kiss guitarist and one of the original members, but out of the original four guys, Ace has also had the most successful and longest-lasting solo career, and, they've all tried their hand over the years at some solo releases, but Ace has remained the most consistent with his solo releases, which are fantastic in my opinion. Ace has a number of great solo albums in his catalog, including this one here from 1989, Trouble Walkin', great album, and I think Ace is a fantastic guitarist, and it was apparent in 1978, upon the release of his Kiss solo album, that he would be a successful solo performer in the future if he wanted to be, because his album is definitely the best out of the four releases there, and still 40 years later definitely holds up as the best out of the four. So I think Ace Frehley definitely belongs on the list here. Kicking us off at number 15, I'm going to go with Ace Frehley. For my number 14, I'm going to go with Frank Zappa, one of the most different, unique, and eccentric solo artists in classic rock history. And, Frank Zappa has influenced countless musicians over the years, as well as making a great cultural impact during his lifetime as well. And, I think Frank Zappa's music is brilliant, if not a bit much taken at times, but there's no denying the man is a genius, and he was operating at a different level in his prime. So, for those reasons, he's my number 14 here on the list, the different, unique, and influential Frank Zappa. Next, at number 13, I'm going to go with Roger Waters, formerly of Pink Floyd, and, Roger did some great career-defining work with Pink Floyd, but after he left the band, he went on to have a very successful solo career as well, which is still going strong to this day, with 4 very interesting studio albums, as well as some great work as part of soundtracks, and even opera. But for me personally, I think my favorite work of his as a solo performer comes in his live adaptations of The Wall, his masterpiece from Pink Floyd that he took over with him into his solo career with some great live adaptations and a number of fantastic live albums. So coming in at number 13 here, I'm going to go with the legendary Roger Waters, formerly of Pink Floyd. In 1980, following the breakup of Led Zeppelin, my number 12 here on the list, Robert Plant embarked on a solo career which featured him releasing 11 studio albums, including his most recent from 2021, and I think Robert Plant is a fantastic musician with a great voice and somebody who really made his solo career work. He's released 11, like I said, in total, and I think my 2 favorite studio albums from the solo Robert Plant catalog have to be Manic Nirvana from 1990 and The Principle of Moments from 1983. 2 great records there that really showcase his solo career, which doesn't sound all that much like Led Zeppelin in my opinion, but that's good that it's different. And like I said, Robert Plant is a great musician, and he definitely made it work, making the best out of a rough situation following the untimely demise of Led Zeppelin in 1980. So coming in at number 12 here, I'm going to go with Robert Plant. In 1989, my number 11 on the list, Tom Petty released Full Moon Fever and would go on to make rock history as he embarked on a very successful solo career that brought him worldwide acclaim and notoriety. And Tom Petty, definitely one of the all-time best classic rock solo artists with a number of great, catchy radio hits in his catalog, but also some really interesting deep cuts as well. And, everybody knows about the songs like Free Fallin' and Won't Back Down, right? But there's also some fantastic deep material in his catalog as well, which I think is really enjoyable. So coming in at number 11 here, I'm going to go with the late, great Tom Petty. Definitely deserving of a spot here on this list for his great work, not just his radio hits. Moving on now into the top 10, I'm going to go with Bob Dylan, and to be completely honest with you, I'm not a big Bob Dylan fan because I'm not a huge fan of his voice, which I know is not a very unpopular opinion, but I just feel like his voice doesn't do anything for me. But what makes Bob Dylan so legendary, rather than his singing, is his songwriting. He is one of the all-time best songwriters and is a legendary and influential lyricist, one of the all-time greats, and somebody who would have a great cultural impact on society, even to this day, through his music, because of his lyrics, which are so poignant and, so revolutionary for its time. I think Bob Dylan, one of the all-time best songwriters, so for that reason, it lands him in my top 10 here, coming in at number 10. Gotta go with Bob Dylan, not for his voice, but rather for the amazing lyrics that he wrote during his career. Coming in at number 9 here on the list, I'm going to go with Eric Clapton, one of the all-time greats. And, for me, I think Eric Clapton is legendary for the way that he put an emphasis on lead guitar, as well as being a great lyricist and showing incredible lyricism throughout his catalog. And, for me, he's very similar to Tom Petty in the sense that, He's got some great radio hits, but also some really interesting deep material in his catalog as well, which is really cool. And for me personally, my favorite Eric Clapton guitar solo, it doesn't even occur in his catalog, but rather in the Beatles catalog on the White Album, in his collaboration with George Harrison on While My Guitar Gently Weeps. That is one of my all-time favorite guitar solos. Just great work on there by Eric Clapton, and a really cool collaboration with George Harrison on one of the Beatles' best albums as well. Eric Clapton is a total legend in my opinion, and definitely belongs in the top 10, so coming in at number 9 here, I'm going to go with the legendary, once-in-a-lifetime talent that is Eric Clapton. For my number 8, how about Billy Joel? I mean, who doesn't love Billy Joel, right? One of the all-time best singers in rock and roll, and he's got such a recognizable voice, somebody who just pumped out great song after great song after great song throughout his career, as well as being an excellent piano player. You can see Billy playing piano on the back there, one of the all-time best in that department, and, you know, he's somebody who just made great album after great album after great album, but I think his legacy has to be the incredible shows he's done consecutively every month at Madison Square Garden, and, you know, I've had the opportunity to see Billy Joel live at the Garden. It's such a great show, and he's so fun in a live setting, is Billy Joel. What a great show, and I'd love to be able to see Billy Joel live at the Garden once again, because that was just such an awesome experience, and Billy is fantastic in a live setting. One of the all-time greats is Billy Joel, my number 8 here on the list, and somebody who, like I said, is excellent in a live setting, as well as making some incredible albums throughout his career, so definitely deserving of a spot here in the top 10, in my opinion. Next, at number 7 here, I'm going to go with Joan Jett, and, you know, following the breakup of the Runaways, Joan Jett embarked on an extremely successful solo career that's still going strong to this day, and Joan Jett is definitely a trailblazer, being one of the most successful and influential women in rock and roll. She's got so many great albums in her catalog, as well as some really catchy material as well, which makes her one of the all-time best, in my opinion, and my number 7 here on the list is the great Joan Jett. A trailblazer and somebody who's super influential for women in rock is Joan Jett, my number 7 here on the list. For my number 6, I'm going to go with another very influential solo artist, and that is Elton John. Elton John is somebody who has inspired and influenced so many different musicians over a number of different music genres over the years, and he's an excellent piano player and a great singer. He's been very successful as well, selling over 3 million records during his career, and he's got a number of great, fantastic albums in his catalog as well that definitely cemented him as one of the all-time best. So coming in at number 6 here, I'm going to go with the great and influential Elton John. Speaking of great, different, and influential musicians, David Bowie defines all 3 of those terms, in my opinion, and somebody who has quickly become one of my favorite solo artists in classic rock is David Bowie. So he kicks us off here in the top 5, and Bowie is somebody who found a way to reinvent himself time and time again, and I really dig just about every era of David Bowie's career. You have the earlier classic stuff, the glam stuff, the industrial stuff, and his later works are all really great, and I really enjoyed just about all of David Bowie's catalog. I think he's a great musician and somebody who was super different and influential, went on to inspire so many different musicians over the years, and really wrote the book on how to be a great showman in a live setting, as well as being able to continuously reinvent yourself time and time again. So coming in at number 5 here, I'm going to go with the late, great, legendary David Bowie, one of the most important rock stars of all time. Next, at number 4 here on the list, I'm going to go with Alice Cooper, and Cooper is somebody that I included in the list that I made, counting down the best heavy metal solo artist of all time, because he's somebody that really walked the line over the years between rock and metal, as well as influencing so many in the heavy metal genre, but Cooper was definitely a shoo-in here for this list when counting down the best classic rock solo artists, because following the breakup of the original Alice Cooper group, Alice Cooper continued on his own under the name of Alice Cooper, and really did it his own way over the years, while also, just like Bowie, being able to reinvent himself so many times to change with the times as well. And, you know, when it comes to some of his best solo albums, some of my favorites include Welcome to My Nightmare, From the Inside here, this great album that I'm holding up, Brutal Planet as well is great, and even his most recent album, Detroit Stories, is amazing as well. He's released some incredible solo records over the years and has managed to stay relevant all these years later by reinventing himself so many times, like I said. He's really become an American icon, a pop culture icon, if you will, and he's my number 4 here on the list. Definitely one of the best solo artists in classic rock is Alice Cooper. Like I said, my number 4 on the list. Top 3 now, and for my number 3, I'm going to go with Jimi Hendrix, and, you know, when you have a discussion about the best guitarists of all time, Jimi Hendrix definitely needs to be in that conversation. Somebody who was so revolutionary and so influential during his lifetime, even though he passed away at the young age of 27. What he was able to accomplish in his career was insurmountable, and I think his work is something that will live on for generations to come. You know, Jimi Hendrix has written just some timeless material in his solo career, as well as being a great guitarist, like I said, and somebody who accomplished so much in his short lifetime is Jimi Hendrix, one of the most iconic rock stars, and definitely, like I said, the best guitarists of all time. Number 2, I thought a lot about how I was going to do this, but I've decided to give a joint entry here to John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and George Harrison, 3/4 of the Beatles, and obviously Ringo Starr did not make this list here. Somebody who had shown moments of greatness in his solo career, but really nothing sufficient enough for me to include him in my top 15. But 3/4 of the Beatles here, John, George, and Paul McCartney, definitely deserve to be here, in my opinion. And I included them together because then I could fit more people on this list. And obviously, all three guys are synonymous with each other. And although they made some great music with the Beatles, also did some incredible work as solo artists. And I think they definitely belong in the top 3 here. So in order to include all 3 together, I did have to include them as one joint entry. So 3/4 of the Beatles here coming in at number 2 on the list. They all did great work together and also separately as solo musicians. Honorable mentions here go out to Bruce Springsteen, Pat Benatar, Janis Joplin, and Neil Young. They've all had great solo careers in classic rock, but I can only fit 15 here on this list. And finally, coming in at number 1 here on the list, I'm going to go with Elvis Presley. And, you know, I was talking about with a lot of the other entries on this list how influential they are and how much they inspired other musicians. But to be honest, Elvis Presley inspired all of them in some way, shape, or form over the years. And Elvis really wrote the blueprint on how to be a great frontman and be engaging with the audience while also releasing some generation-defining music as well. Elvis Presley, one of the all-time best musicians and definitely one of the best in a live setting as well. It's a shame that his career was cut short, but in his prime, he was one of the all-time best and somebody who was definitely a pop culture icon, still is, and a worldwide phenomenon was Elvis Presley, who released some incredible music, like I said, that's generation defining, that will live on for generations to come as well. So coming in at number 1 here, I'm going to go with Elvis Presley, in my opinion, the best classic rock solo artist of all time. So that wraps up my list of top 15 classic rock solo artists of all time. It should be visible right over here. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, and help me reach my goal of 500 subs here on YouTube. We are only 4 subscribers away, so if you have not subscribed yet to the channel, please do so. It is greatly appreciated. Also, be sure to turn on the bell for notifications to be notified of a new upload, and let me know down in the comments below who are some of your favorite classic rock solo artists of all time. I'd be very interested in hearing your opinions, so please let me know all that good stuff down in the comments. And until next time, it's the CD guy, Johnny Z, signing off. Take care, everybody.